Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Today we are going to learn topic 4, which is control structures. In this topic, we will learn about selection control structures such as if, else and switch case statements and their structures. We will also learn Boolean expressions using relational and Boolean operations. There are three types of flow of control in a programming language. The first one is sequential, which we had learned in the previous topic. So what does it mean by sequential? This is when, in our program, the statements are executed in sequential order. So far, what we have done with our code is having statements in sequence. The statements are executed in order. For example, we have statement 1, statement 2, and so on. Let's look at a simple code to make sense of this. Say that we have a class called example. Using what we have learned in the previous topic, we declare a variable called number that is of type int. Then, we create a scanner object called input. To enable user to type from the keyboard, we use system.in. So we write scanner input equal to new scanner system.in. And also to use the scanner class, we need to import java.util package. So we have import java.util.scanner. Then, it will display on the screen using print method, enter a number. It expects the user to enter an integer number as we use nextInt method, and the value is kept in the variable called number. Next, we print out the value that the user has entered by displaying the sentence, "You have entered," and the number. Based on the explanation about the code, we can see that there's a sequence of what is being executed first. We can see that when we run the code, the first print statement is displayed before the second print line statement. It happens in the exact sequence that the code is written. The second type is selection, which is what this topic is about. In selection, it allows the program to select one of multiple paths of execution. The path is selected based on some conditional criteria using Boolean expression. What does it mean by Boolean? It means the condition will only have two values, either true or false. When it is true, it will do statement 1, for example. If it is false, it will do statement 2. In selection, we use the diamond shape as the condition for the flowchart. If the Boolean expression evaluates to true, the statement will be executed. So you can see that the arrow is pointing to the statement and the condition should be true. Otherwise, it will be skipped, meaning that if the condition is false. This flowchart here shows the selection structure of if statement, meaning that when the Boolean expression evaluates to false, nothing will be done. For example, I have added this code where I wrote if number modulus 2 equal to 0. At this point, any number that has the remainder of 0 is an even number. We have looked at examples of using the modulus sign to find even or odd in topic 3. So basically at this line, we are saying that if the number that the user entered has the remainder of 0, which means that this condition is true, it will do the system.out.println and print the number, and the sentence is the number is an even number. If this condition is false, meaning that number modulus 2 gives the value of 1, it doesn't display anything on the screen and ends the program. You can try and run the full code. See that we enter the value 4. It will display you have entered 4, and also 4 is an even number. If we run this program again and enter the value 3, it will display you have entered 3, and that is all. We will learn how to write these if-else statements and the condition and also the expressions. The third type of flow control is repetition, which we are going to learn in the next topic. In repetition, we learn about while loop, do while loop, and also for loop. In simple words, in repetition, we can specify parts of our code where we want it to keep on repeating. What we have done so far, we wrote our code in sequential order and after the last statement, it ends. For example, when asking the user to enter a number and then display the number, what if we want the user to keep on entering numbers until maybe when the user type exit? So this is where repetition comes in. Repetition is also represented by the diamond shape for condition in the flowchart. Only the flow is different than selection. A quick example to show it is in this code. In the yellow box, it will keep on asking the user to enter a number. It will only quit when the user enter -1. Otherwise, it will keep on going. The example output could be enter a number. When the user entered 4, it will display you have entered 4. Then it will ask again, enter a number. If the user entered 6, it will display you have entered 6. It will ask again, enter a number. The user entered -1 and it displays the value and ends the program because the condition within the while has now become false because number is equal to 1. Don't worry too much about this yet. We will learn all of this slowly. These are just for your information for now. Going back to selection structures, in selection we can have several options or paths based on the condition. There are 3 types of Java selection structures, which are if statement, if-else statements, and switch statement. We can also have multiple selection and nested if, where we have if statement within if statement, or if statements within else statements. It all depends on what we want our program to do. We will look into all of this in this topic. Let's look at the if statement. If statement has the following syntax, so we would write if and then the condition. Then on the next line, the statement or whatever you want the program to do if the condition is true. If the condition becomes false, the statement is skipped. The condition that we have must be a Boolean expression where it gives either true or false value. If is also a reserved word in Java. When you write the if statement, keep note that we don't write semicolon at the end of the if statement. So we have if, bracket, condition, closing the bracket, and that's it. The next line in the statement, for example, we can have system.out.println and then displaying some kind of string and then ends it with semicolon. Revisiting the code that we saw earlier, when we have our if statement, see over here how the if statement is written. So we have if in bracket number modulus 2 equal to 0 and then closing the bracket. The condition here is number modulus 2 equal to 0. If number modulus 2 is equal to 0, that means the condition is true. It will execute the statement of println. We are doing the calculation within the condition, which is number modulus 2. We can do it differently by having a variable and do the calculation there. For example, we have modulus value equal to number modulus 2. It will give us 0 or 1 as the answer. Then, in our if statement condition, we can have if modulus value equal to 0, which basically is comparing the numbers whether they are the same or not. If they are the same, then the condition becomes true. Within the if, the condition can only have 2 values, either true or false. If we run this code, it will display enter a number, and if we enter 4, it will check modulus value equal to 4 modulus 2, which will give us 0. And then it will do if modulus value, which is 0, is it equal to 0? If it is, it will print out 4 is an even number. We can try if we input the value 3. So, modulus value equal to 3 modulus 2, which will give us 1. And then within the if, it will do is 1 equal to 0? Because 1 is not equal to 0, it will not execute the statement of the print line. Let's look at the if statement part in the flowchart. We have the condition evaluated in the if statement, and if it is true, it will execute the statement. Otherwise, nothing is done. You have to label it as true and also false. And remember that you need to have the arrow to show the flow of your program. Say that we have this example. We have some values for the variable amount and also balance. The condition in our if statement is amount less than or equal to balance. If this is true, we will calculate balance equal to balance minus amount. So that is our statement. If the condition is false, we will not do the calculation. So, these two lines of codes are represented in this flowchart where the arrows show the flow of it. In the diamond shape, we write the condition which is amount less than or equal to balance. It doesn't really matter the wording that you use. I normally would write if amount less equal to balance as what I would write in my code. From the diamond, we have two paths for true and false. You can draw your flowchart slightly differently, such as having true and false the other way around. It does not really matter as long as the flow is there and you label which one is for true and which one is for false. For the same code, you can represent it in these three different flowcharts. These flowcharts mean the same, only slightly different in the way of drawing it. So it all depends on how you prefer to have your flowchart. Going back to our example code, how can we draw the complete flowchart? Of course, normally we will draw the flowchart first before writing the code. We are doing it the other way around, which is incorrect. So let's start from the beginning again. Say that the question is, write a program that prompts the user for a number and display even if the number is an even number. So we can write the pseudocode or draw the flowchart. Let's write the pseudocode first. We can write it as start, output, enter a number so that it displays the sentence on the screen and the user knows that they need to enter some value. And then we can have input number. It takes in the user input and save it in the variable called number. From the question, we already know that we will be using a scanner object. Also, since the number is an int, we will use nextInt method from the scanner class. And then we have output. You have entered the number. Then we might want to simply display the number that the user has input. We can skip this in our code. Now, how to decide if the number that the user input is an even number or not? Do you still remember modulus that we have learned in the previous topic? We saw before that if we have 2 modulus 2, it will give us 0. 3 modulus 2, it will give us 1. 4 modulus 2 will give us 0. And 5 modulus 2 will give us 1. We can see a pattern there where even numbers such as 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, if we modulus it by 2, we will get 0. Odd numbers such as 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, if we modulus it by 2, we will get 1. So we can conclude from there that any numbers that modulus with 2 that give us the value 0 is an even number. In the condition part of our if statement, we can have if number modulus 2 equal to 0, which means any number that the user input, if it gives the value 0 when we do the modulus, it must be an even number. If the condition is true, it will execute the next statement, which is output number is an even number. This sentence will be shown on the screen, and then we have our end to end it. As we haven't learned about equality yet, you can write the if condition in some sentence, such as if number modulus 2 is 0. This is fine as well. From here, we can draw the flowchart. As we have learned before, we have the start and end in an oval or rounded rectangle. Any input and output will be in parallelogram, and condition will be in the diamond shape. So we have output, enter a number, then input number, and another output, you have entered number. And since we have the if statement with the condition, we'll write the condition within the diamond shape. For example here, I wrote if number modulus 2 equal to 0. Some people prefer to write only the condition without the word if. I personally prefer to write if because I would know that this is the selection if. When we learn about repetition in the next topic, which is while loop, do while loop, or for loop, we are still going to use the diamond shape to represent the condition. From this condition, if it is true, it will have the output number is an even number, then end the program. Otherwise, if the condition is false, it will just end. You can have the false arrow to point to end straight away. That is totally fine. Over here, I have it combined with whatever after the statement, after the true statement, in case I have other statements or code to run in the program. We will look at what I meant by that in the next few slides. Another thing that I would like to show you over here is in the last output. So we have output number, then only we have the double quote is an even number, closing double quote. So the word number at the first one, that refers to the variable number. That's why I don't put it within the double quotes. And then inside the double quotes, we have is an even number. That is just a sentence. So this flowchart that we have seen before, that represents the code that we have seen previously. When I said that I have the false arrow to point to the arrow after the true statement, which is the output number is an even number, what I meant by that is, let us modify this code first. Say that regardless of the condition of the if, whether it's true or false, we want to display the sentence end of program. We can have the output end of program before the oval shape end, so that when the condition is true, it will do output number is an even number, then exiting the if block, and it will go to the next statement, which is output end of program. If the condition is false, it will straight away go to whatever statement that the main method has, which in this case is the output end of program sentence. We will look at this again later on. Here we have another flowchart where instead of doing the calculation within our condition, we can do it separately. For example, here we have a variable type int called modulus value. Then we can have modulus value equal to number modulus 2. So since this is a process, we will use the rectangle shape. The rest inside the flowchart are just the same. To summarize the first part of this topic, we have looked at the three different types of flow control, where we have sequential, selection, and repetition structures. We know that in selection and repetition, we will use the diamond shape for the condition in the flowchart. By now, we are able to write simple if statement. We will look into more examples in the next part.